In this video, I'm going to give you 4 more principles of fingering at the piano. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Now this video is part 2 of a 3-part video series, so if you haven't seen the first part, make sure and check it out. Alright, so number 1 is using long fingers on black keys and short fingers on white keys. And that basically looks like this. Okay, so you can see that my thumb is on E and my longer fingers are on these black keys. And this just makes sense because the black keys are farther in on the keyboard towards the fallboard, and these fingers are longer, and so I can easily reach them, okay? If I'm playing on white keys and then all of a sudden I have to play a black key, my thumb or my 5th finger are too short, okay? So it makes more sense to play those short fingers on the white keys and long fingers on black keys, of course. Now this is not going to be 100% true no matter what we're doing, because sometimes we're going to have to play our thumb on a black key. You know, thinking about, let's say, a G flat major arpeggio where we're going to be playing all black keys, okay? So I'm going to use my thumb on G flat, etc. But for the most part, this is going to be something that we can generally follow when figuring out an optimal fingering. All right, so number 2 is to always keep the hand in an optimal playing position, or in other words, facing in towards the piano. So notice that when we play the piano, our hand is like this. It's not like this. It's not like this, okay? We can't really play the piano with the hand turned to the side like this. I mean, technically I can, but notice how my hand just wants to go back to this position because it's just easier, okay? It facilitates thumb crossings. It also facilitates moving up and down the keyboard. Now, there's a couple reasons also that we want to do this. When the hand is turned to the side like this, it creates a lot of tension and it's just very awkward. And then, of course, going back to the first point, this makes it easiest to use the long fingers on the black keys and short fingers on the white keys. All right, now number 3 is that sometimes you will need to play inside the black key area. And that kind of, basically looks like this. Okay, so let's say I have my thumb on B flat and then these fingers inside the black key area like so. Now, oftentimes we're told not to do this because it's harder to control the keys inside here because the keys are essentially a fulcrum or a seesaw, right? And so it's easier to control them out here. However, it is possible to play them in here, and if we get ourselves into a really, really awkward position because we're trying to avoid, playing inside that area at all costs, that's not really going to help us very much. So let's go back to that example with the thumb on B flat. If I'm playing something like this, I can play this just fine in the black key area. It doesn't even actually feel hard to do, okay? Because I'm in that optimal position where my fingers are able to freely move and my transfer of energy into the keyboard is really, really efficient. Now, if I try to do this and go out really quick, notice how that creates this really ugly accent. Or if I do this, try to twist, this is also very awkward. And that kind of goes against the principle that we just talked about, which is keeping the hand like so. So sometimes we will need to play in the black key area, and it's not really a problem unless we absolutely just cannot make it sound good at all, and there's better solutions, okay? So don't be afraid to play in the black key area. Now, number 4 is to use the thumb to facilitate changes in position. Now, back in the first video, I talked about how we want to basically avoid too many thumb crossings, with, of course, the exception of, say, a chromatic scale or something like that. Now, we don't want to avoid thumb crossings at all costs, okay? Because thumb crossings are a really good way of helping us move across the keyboard. Think about arpeggios or even a scale, or even larger sort of changes of position. It's really easy to cross over the thumb because of its position on the hand and the way it moves, okay? Now, in the first video, I talked about crossing over the thumb as little as possible because that can be very difficult to do smoothly. But I thought it was important to mention this about movement on the keyboard or changing position, because we don't always want to avoid those changes in the thumb, because sometimes those are the best means of moving to a new position. And really, when thinking about crossing over the thumb as little as possible, I'm thinking more of passages that are going up the keyboard, like a scale, right? It's not very efficient to play scales with 1 2 1 2 1 2. It could be a helpful practice technique, but for fluency and especially for speed, it's not really going to be very helpful. So I hope that these 4 tips were useful and informative. If you find value in this content, make sure and hit the like button, and make sure and subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads just like this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.